Kidding? Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get there.
Ooh, I love this song.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello and welcome everyone to episode 219 of the Rotten Views podcast. Thank you everyone for showing up to another new episode. If you're a returning listener, I appreciate it so much that you come here each and every single week. If you're a first-time listener, I appreciate you guys checking out the podcast. Make sure to check out the back catalog because we have a lot of episodes, a lot of different movies that we've been talking about for the last couple of years now. So I think you'll probably find a couple episodes that you're going to enjoy, hopefully. But who knows? It all depends on what your taste is. I like pretty much anything and everything. So, this podcast is going to keep expanding with the different style movies that we're going to keep watching. It's not just going to be the horror movies. It's going to be, like I've been saying, action comedies, thrillers, suspense. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. So hopefully you guys will hit that subscribe button or the follow button, depending on wherever you're listening to this on. If it's on Spotify, I would love it if you guys could give me a star rating. I'm not personally going to ask you for 5 stars, but if you feel like it deserves 5 stars, I'm not going to say no. Just give it whatever you think it deserves. If you're on Apple or iTunes, whatever it's called. I don't use Apple at all, so feel free to leave a review over there as well, and we'll get around to it at some point in time. I just appreciate all the feedback and all the response on the podcast episodes. So thank you, everyone, for checking it out every single week. But before we get into the podcast episode too much, let's do a little bit of housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
I think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
Could you come back in an hour?
Housekeeping, you want towels?
More towels. Need sleepy.
Housekeeping, you want mint for pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
Of course, as I just said, if you guys could leave a review on the podcast, if it's on Spotify, if it's on iTunes, if CastBox has an option to review things or rate things, that'd be greatly appreciated as well. Or just hit that share button. That share button actually does help out podcasts a lot. Just, sharing it with friends, your coworkers, whoever. It does mean a lot to me, and it does help grow the community that we are working on each and every single day for this podcast and everything else that it's related to me. With that being said, feel free to check out all my social media links down below at Typhonstein. Find us on X, Threads, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook art page, as well as YouTube and Twitch. I haven't been streaming so much this week. I've been, a couple hours here and there. Not as much as I want to, but definitely go check it out. We've been playing Dead Island 2 on Twitch mainly. I've got a little bit on YouTube, but we've also been playing GTA 5 online on YouTube as well. So definitely go check out the links down below. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. That way you don't miss when we go live with a live stream or when I post a new short or the weekly game video that drops every single Wednesday. Definitely go check it out. I know you guys have been enjoying the Dead Island 2 content as well as the Ben 10 playthrough, which we will be finishing here within the next week or two. So hopefully you guys will check that out as well. And as always, feel free to share everything that we post. If it's an art video or if it's a YouTube stream or a Twitch stream, wherever it might be, just feel free to hit that share button. I appreciate it. And also, just in case you guys didn't know, I will be giving away some free artwork once we hit 1,000 subs over on the YouTube channel, so definitely go subscribe to that, and who knows, you might be the lucky winner. Also, with this podcast, if you guys are a new listener, just want to give you guys a little bit of heads up, a little bit of warning. I'll be talking about this movie from start to finish and hitting all the points in between that catch my interest. So if you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that came out in 1996, feel free to pause the episode now. You can watch it on Disney Plus, and then come back to the podcast, or just sit back, relax, listen to me talk about it. I will give you another warning once we get ready to start, but I just want to let you know ahead of time. Now let's discuss the movie at hand a little bit. We are talking about Celtic Pride from 1996. It has a 5.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 12% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 34% on TV Guide. Like I mentioned, you can also watch it now on Disney Plus. Initial release date was April 15th, 1996. This movie has a read time of an hour and 31 minutes, and the description as read on IMDb: two over-loyal Celtic fans kidnap their opponent's star player in order to guarantee their team the championship. The director for this one is Tom Decaricio. I probably butchered that last name because you know what? We're really good at butchering last names because that's what we do. Tom hasn't really directed much. He also was the writer for 1996 movie called Amanda, as well as he did a movie in 1987 where he was the director for Boy's Life 2. And after that, nothing really else to talk about. This movie also features two writers, and well, let's just be honest, the two writers are pretty well known. The first one being Judd Apatow. I don't know this TV show at all, but apparently he was the producer for 62 episodes of a TV show called Girls, as well as, I didn't know, but I haven't actually watched the movie either because I'm not a big fan of the actor in it. He's the producer for 2020's King of Staten Island, as well as producer for 2005 4-Year-Old Virgin, as well as producer in 2007 for Knocked Up. He's worked on a lot of movies. He's also producer for Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues, a producer for This Is 40, producer for Trainwreck, producer for Pee-wee's Big Holiday Adventure in 2016. Well, it's actually just Pee-wee's Big Holiday. He was a producer for 2009's Year One, which I did not care for that movie at all, to be honest with you guys. But he was also the producer of 2008 Step Brothers, as well as Pineapple Express. So he's got some fairly good, well-known movies in there. Another person credited for writing on this one is Colin Quinn. You guys would probably know him as Dickie Bailey in 2010's Grown Up. He was also Dewey in 1998's A Night at the Roxbury. He was Gordon in 2015's Trainwreck. He's also the writer for 26 episodes of a TV show called Cop Show, which I've actually never heard of before. He's also in 40 episodes of Saturday Night Live because, you know, Saturday Night Live is amazing. He's also in 8 episodes of In Living Color, which I didn't know that at all. So we're definitely going to have to check those episodes out. I don't know a lot about In Living Color. I know the premise. I've seen clips. I've seen a lot of clips, actually, to be honest. I don't know if I've seen full episode for the most part, but it's definitely something I want to revisit because it's been coming up a lot lately, it seems, in the news. And what we also like to do with each episode of the podcast, we like to talk about some of the lead cast members, usually about 2 or 3 of them. But of course, we gotta do the 3 of them because the 3 main people in this movie are Damon Wayans, Daniel Stern, and Dan Aykroyd. Everyone would of course know Damon Wayans from In Living Color, as well as Michael Kyle in 124 episodes of My Wife and Kids from 2000 to 2005. He was Jimmy Dick in The Last Boy Scout from 1991. He was Johnny Stewart in 1992's Mo Money. He's also Major Payne in 1995's Major Payne, of course, and the list goes on and on and on, of course. The next actor we're going to talk about is Daniel Stern. Obviously, you know, best known for being in Home Alone as Marv in 1990. Apparently, he was also in The Wonder Years. He was the narrator as well as Kevin Arnold from 1988 to 1993 for 114 episodes, as well as he's Cryle in 1979's Breaking Away, and he's also Phil in 1991's City Slickers. I haven't heard anyone talk about City Slickers in a long damn time, so we might have to add that one to the podcast list because I remember enjoying that as a kid. And of course, the last person we're going to talk about is Dan Aykroyd, because how can you not? He's the writer for 1998's Blues Brothers 2000, as well as the writer for 1980's The Blues Brothers. He was also one of the writers for Ghostbusters. Obviously, he was also in Ghostbusters, and a movie we haven't done on the podcast, but we're going to be doing it on the podcast. He was the writer for 1991's Nothing But Trouble. It's a very interesting movie. I've seen clips on it, and the prosthetics that they use for the nose, it's very interesting for Dan's character, but we'll just leave it at that. We'll wait for our time to discuss that episode when it comes up. He was also in 1993's Coneheads, as well as the writer. He's done so much Ghostbusters related stuff, it's just crazy. He was the writer in 1987's Dragnet, as well as he did the story and screenplay for 1985's Spies Like Us. The tagline for this movie is, "Can't beat 'em, deal 'em." Also, apparently this movie, opening weekend in the States and Canada, on April 21st, 1996, was $3,809,248. Gross worldwide was $9,255,027. I think, to me, that seems like it did good, but I don't really know how much these actors were being paid, because it had some pretty big name actors in it as well, so I don't know what the actual budget was. I don't see it wrote down anywhere. I just see what the actual box office intake was. Anyways, enough about that. Let's just get started on the episode at hand. So I'm going to give you guys your last and final warning. I will be talking about this movie from start to finish and hitting all the points in between that catch my interest. So if you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that came out in 1996, feel free to pause it now, go watch it on Disney Plus, and then hopefully you'll come back and listen to me talk about the movie. Or just sit back, relax, listen to me talk about the movie, and you'll either decide that it's a movie you want to watch, or it's just something that you'll be like, alright, I'm glad I listened to it, but it's not my type of movie, not my cup of tea. So hopefully you guys will listen to the podcast. Hopefully you'll stay for the full episode. I appreciate if you did. Like I said earlier in the episode, hit that share button. It does mean a lot. And as always, just sit back, relax, get some snacks, some treats, whatever it might be if you're at home relaxing. If you're at work, hopefully this helps get through the day. And if you're listening in the car, just keep your eyes on the road, okay? We don't need any accidents, especially, with winter coming here soon enough. The roads are going to be shit no matter what. So just keep your eyes on the road if, there's snow or black ice or whatever around. Just keep your eyes on the road anyway. It's just stupid. Common sense. So we're going to get started on the episode right now.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight,
The town, Boston. The team, the Celtics. The event, the NBA Finals. And their biggest fans are Jimmy and Mike.
You are in Beantown now, baby! Beantown!
They're loyal.
No!
Excuse me.
Just taking a little break, Steve.
Are you saying my toilet still isn't fixed?
Oh, you gotta go.
Dedicated.
It's like you say, the most important thing is that they have fun.
No. And faithful.
This is for my grandmother. This is for the state of Massachusetts, for Celtics, for Boston. Man.
They have everything it takes to win the playoffs.
No!
Unfortunately,
He's gonna shoot it every time!
the Utah Jazz
I want him dead!
has Lewis Scott.
If he gets hot, we are in trouble.
I'm on fire.
Now,
He's throwing it in our face.
their mission is clear.
What if we went over there and, got him messed up, completely wrecked, so he was too hungover to play well on Sunday?
And for Lewis Scott,
Lewis Scott's in the bed.
We kidnapped him.
the real game is about to begin.
Don't make me hurt you now.
Damon Wayans,
May I use the bathroom?
I'm not falling for that trick.
Trick? What do you think? I wore a pamper here?
Daniel Stern,
You're still my hero.
Thanks, Tommy.
Not you, Dad. I meant Lewis.
and Dan Aykroyd.
I've done something terribly wrong. And I might have to go to jail and become some bad man's boyfriend.
That's nice, Peanut.
Celtic Pride.
Our movie started out, we had the intro starting to roll in, and we see one of our leads, Daniel Stern, who's playing Mike O'Hara, who's a basketball coach, who's, giving some tip, but it's not to actual players, it's to kids. He's talking to these kids and telling them the plays that they need to make so they can get the ball into the hoop to score the winning points for the game. And then all the kids are like, Mr. O'Hara, can we go play on the trampoline now? And he's like, yeah, okay, just go play on the trampoline, I guess. One of the kids goes over to Mr. O'Hara. He's like, are you okay, Mr. O'Hara? You look sad. He's like, well, Timmy, my Celtics are playing a very important game tonight against a really good team. And, there's a lot on stake right now. And the kid's like, Mr. O'Hara, you always say as long as they're having fun, that's all that matters. He's like, no, it doesn't. They gotta win. Mr. O'Hara goes on about how he wants the Celtics to win because they're getting ready to tear down the Boston Garden after the end of the season. And he's like, I will not let them lose. They need to win before the stadium is torn down. And Josh, that's the kid, it wasn't Timmy, he looks looks like he's about ready to cry. So he's like, you know what? You can cut through the line and be first on the trampoline. All right, little buddy? I'll let them know that you're going first, okay? Don't worry. Go get on the trampoline and have some fun. So then we have Carol, Mike's wife, coming to talk to him, being like, you know what? Here's the divorce papers. I had them from the last time. You know, I can't be with you when the Celtics win and when they lose, because you're two different psychoses, two different psychopaths. And I'm just trying to live through this, and we just need to move on, because your dream of basketball games is too much. It's driving us crazy. And Carol's trying to tell me, like, you know, you gotta chase after a new dream. There's gotta be a new dream that you need to go after. He's like, don't worry about my dream, honey. It's squashed dead on the side of the road. Thanks for letting me know, honey. So then Carol gets all pissed off and leaves the office, because they're in the little gym office, and he starts yelling at her as she's walking through the gym, and he starts screaming, be like, I'm tired of you and your therapist screwing me over. And we have like this dramatic basketball style music playing, and then we see the ball coming towards the screen, and there's the square that was on the back of the backboard of the basketball net, and it smashes it, and the glass breaks, and we just see Celtic Pride. And then we see Lewis Scott, played by Damon Wayans, coming in. He's for the Utah Jazz. He's like, I am not a hero. He's going on about what a hero is and how they unite people and inspire people. He's like, I am not a hero. The whole time he's doing this promo, it's all in black and white, and he's just slam dunking the ball over and over again, just screaming. He's like, I don't want to race your kids. I don't even like kids. And that's the Nike logo. And we see this whole commercial the whole time. Jimmy Flattery is watching it, and that's Dan Aykroyd. He's like, yeah, you little douche. My Celtics are gonna wreck ya next time we play ya. Made it sound like Jimmy was like the owner of the Celtics, but he's not. He actually runs a plumbing service, and then the doors open behind him because he's sitting on this big fancy couch watching the game on a square old school TV. You know, I know most of you people probably don't know what one of those look like. You can Google it if you want to. But the guy's like, sir, can you stop watching the game? What are you doing? You're supposed to be fixing my toilet. He's like, can you actually wait? You know, I know they're going to score here big, and they're going to win this game. Can we like pause the plumbing just for a little bit? And then we see Mike getting ready to leave, and his son comes up the car. He's like, hey, Dad, what happened? He's like, Tommy, there was a point in time where sports were revered and everyone loved sports. And, me and your mom are getting divorced. See you later, kid. And he just drives away. Kid's just like, see you, Dad. See you later. You come back home, though, right? You come back after you get smokes and milk? Right, Dad? And then we see Mike and Jimmy in a bar together, and Jimmy's like, I'm all excited, tomorrow's gonna be the time we announce that the Boston Celtics win, and, it's gonna be the greatest time of our lives, right, buddy? He's like, yeah, it's gonna be great. That's when one of their friends come over, and it's Kevin O'Grady playing, Paul, who's a police officer, and Jimmy's like, hey, shouldn't you be, like, planting some false evidence on someone? He's like, I did that earlier in the night, actually. I'm good to go for the rest of the night. And the guy behind the bar turns on TV, and they're talking about the Celtics and Utah Jazz, and apparently they announced that Scott's been fined $10,000 for not showing up to practice or something like that. And Mike's like, $10,000, that's crazy. And James is like, $10,000, that's nothing. He probably hasn't even seen that money yet. And then we just see the both of them in their jersey, all decked out in gear. For whatever reason, Jimmy's got like a whole vest with a bunch of emblems all over it. Patches is the correct word that I was looking for. And it's like Boston Celtics and Boston Bruins and just anything Boston or green related. And then they walk through the door to get to their seats, and they just crouch down and do a little prayer and kiss the ground. And Susie shows up, and she does like the concessions and bring the food out and stuff all around. And she's like, here you go, Jimmy, here's your hot dog, just like you like it, nice and warm. He's like, how'd you toast the bun? There's no toaster here. And he's like, I used my curling iron. Also, I'm a little bit confused because when the Utah Jazz come out, Mike's yelling at them, screaming at them, trying to insult them, trying to make them feel bad. But I got a little bit confused because their jackets are purple with the Jazz logo on, and it made me really think that they're the Lakers. I got really look back in the day, did the Utah Jazz come out with a purple and yellow jacket on at one point? I thought their colors were always blue and white. Jimmy and Mike are very superstitious about everything. They're like, oh wait, it's an even game. We gotta switch seats. We can't be sitting in these seats. We gotta swap them so you're sitting on this side and I'm sitting on that side, because then it's gonna just mess up the aura of the game. We're probably gonna jinx the team. And then we see the Utah Jazz doing their pep talk, getting ready to play their game, and Coach Kimball is getting ready, to give them speech, telling them how they gotta play hard, and they gotta win. And the Coach Kimball is actually played by Christopher McDonald, but probably most people remember him as Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore. I'm assuming that's the main character that comes up when you mention that guy's name. Of course, the game starts and we see, Scott being like this good player. He's like the Michael Jordan, but he's kind of like a dickhead like Dennis Rodman would have been. And he's just aggressive and just keeps running down the net. And then this one guy from the other team has the ball. He goes to like turn and elbows him in the face, and we just see a slow-mo of like sweat going all over the place. Like, hey ref, you should be watching out for him. He just elbowed me in the face. And then even some of the players that are on Scott's team, he's like, hey Lewis, how about you pass the ball so some of us can play too as well? He's like, worry about your own game. I'm gonna win this. I'm the cocky little asshole. And of course, Lewis gets in the face of one of these Celtic fans, or not fans, of players, and they start scuffling, pushing back and forth. And of course, they do a timeout. And then one of the other friends shows up randomly and sits behind them, and they haven't seen him in years. And of course, we can just assume that that's probably going to be bad luck for them, because they're just saying how well the Celtics are doing and how they're going to win. Of course, Scott scores again in front of two Celtic players. He's like, good thing they're tearing down this place, because I'm wrecking your house. And then of course, Scott keeps scoring and scoring. He's like, I'm on fire. And then they call a timeout. And then we cut back to Jimmy and Mike. He's like, what just happened? He's like, oh, they're on fire. And then everything just changed. And then they look back and they see their friend that they haven't seen in years. He's like, hey guys. And then Jimmy's like, I think you should leave. You're wrecking it, okay? Because they were up 18 at the half, and now they're only up by 2. So can you get the hell out of here, please, before we lose the game? And then the friend's like, no, I'm not leaving. I paid for this ticket. And then, of course, Scott scores again, and now the game's tied. He's like, are you happy now? Are you happy now? And then everyone just starts, ripping out the guy's shirt and being like, get out of here. You're causing trouble. And of course, Scott just keeps scoring on the Celtics like it's no big issue. So then Mike and Jimmy start switching seats with each other, because I feel like maybe that's part of the issue. And then they keep getting scored on. So then everyone else starts switching seats. And then at one point in time, we see a giant gap in the seats because there's nobody sitting in the seats. And Mike's just like, this isn't working, guys. We got to figure out what's going to work here. We got to figure out what's going to give our team some good luck. And of course, that game's over. The Celtics lost, of course. We see the stadium's pretty much empty. We just see the guy clean the court up. And then we just see Mike and Jimmy sitting in the stand by themselves, looking on confused, looking on depressed, because their team lost and they don't know what happened, because they were doing so well. And then we see this bar where the two twins are bartending it, Timmy and Patty. And of course, Lewis Scott's there at the bar, and they call Jimmy, be like, hey, you're not gonna believe who's here, giving us $100 tip, spending money in our bar, even though he's not a Celtic player, Scott's here. And they're like, maybe we should go to the bar and go pay a little bit of a visit. We see Mike and Jimmy showing up to the bar, and they're looking around for Scott, and they finally see him in the crowd as he's dancing, having a good time. And they're like, dickhead. They're just standing in the bar trying to come up with some ideas on how to mess with Scott. And like, how about we get him really drunk and wasted so that he can't play the next game? He's all messed up for the whole time, and they can't even put him on the court. We'll mess him up real freaking good so he can't play the game at all. If he can't play the game at all, then they're not gonna win. This one guy comes up to Scott and starts yelling at him, being like, you're nothing but a selfish ball hog. Your whole team hates you. You're not gonna be able to win the championship. And then Mike stands up for Scott. He's like trying to be all posse. He's like, he's a ball hog because he's the best player in the league. And then he turns and looks at Jimmy. He's like, I think I'm going to be sick. I'm going to puke. Out of nowhere, Larry Bird shows up and comes over to talk to Scott. And Jimmy and Mike are just confused, shocked, and in awe, because they're like, I'm Larry Bird. You're Larry Bird. Hi, nice to meet you. And then Scott's like, hey, these guys are kind of a dangerous species. They're two white Irish guys that don't like the Boston Celtics. And then Larry Bird's like, you guys should learn something about loyalty. You guys are from here. You guys should be loyal to the Celtics. If you're going to be fans like that, I don't want to be associated with you guys. We pretty much see the whole bar is emptied, but we still see Scott, we still see Mike, we still see Jimmy and the bartender, and Mike's starting to make up these different drinks just to get Scott completely wasted, to the point where Scott's now wearing his tie on his forehead. And then out of nowhere, I don't know where Jimmy even got this glass. It's a giant ass glass that he actually puts a full-size umbrella in, and it's Celtic green. And then next thing you know, we see the three of them stumbling out of the bar, car as Jimmy and Mike are trying to hold up Scott, who's completely wasted out of his mind. And of course, so is Jimmy and Mike. So now it's the next morning, and Mike's waking up in bed, and he's a little bit confused. He's pulling down the blanket, and then he starts screaming and freaking out because Louis Scott is in the bed with him. And then Jimmy comes running in. He's like, what's the matter? What's the matter? He's like, Louis Scott's in the bed. Scott's in the bed. And of course, they don't remember anything about last night, because then Jimmy's like, oh, I'm never gonna drink hard liquor ever again. And then they start playing around with the passed out Scott. They put like the Larry Bird jersey on top of him, being like, yeah, we're gonna take a couple Polaroids of this. It's gonna be good. And of course, we see the Utah Jazz during practice, and the coach is all pissed off because Scott's not showing up to practice again. So they're trying to get a hold of him, but of course he's not in his room, and it's pissing him off. And then between that and cutting back into Jimmy and Mike, they're still taking Polaroids of Scott wearing these various Boston Celtics items, like the hat, and then there's the foam finger and whatnot. Of course, also I forgot to mention that Scott is duct tape around his wrists and his ankles, and the next thing you know, we see Mike and Jimmy carrying him down the stairwell, and he wakes up, and then we see Mike falling down the stairs, and then Jimmy just runs away, and Mike's yelling for him, but then Scott gets on top of him and starts beating him with his duct tape hands. Then out of nowhere, Jimmy shows up with a gun. He's like, hey, you, get upstairs now. We were trying to make this easy, but now it's not gonna be easy. And then we see them all sitting back in Jimmy's apartment, and Mike's like, I didn't even know you had a gun. He's like, yeah, it's this Russian something, the other pistol. He was talking a lot about the gun. I wasn't really paying attention too much about the gun. And then out of nowhere, Scott's like, so is this like some backlash against the O.J. Simpson verdict? I'm just curious what's going on here right now. And then Mike's like, hey, Jimmy, why don't you just go get some coffee, get some food, get some breakfast? And then Jimmy starts listing off all things like, you know, we can get some eggs, some sausage, get some toast done up, maybe do a little bit Italian, maybe do a little bit Chinese. And Mike's like, would you just shut up and just go get some normal coffee? He's like, no, we want to make it nice. We want to make him feel loved and at home. And then Mike's like, you know what? I'll go get the food. I'll go get the coffee. You watch his ass, right? And then as Mike's leaving the apartment, he slams the door and the blinds fall off. And Scott's like, you let him talk to you like that in public around other people? You really put up with that crap from him? And Scott's trying to get into Jimmy's head. He's like, yeah, he talks to you like you're a real bitch or something. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back with some pups and some pink, tutus and stuff for you to wear because you're his bitch. And then Jimmy starts thinking like, man, he's right. Maybe I should stand up to him more. And Scott's like, my teammates are going to come looking for me. You know that, right? He's like, why? Because you're never at practice? You never miss a practice, huh? They're really going to come looking for you now? Because you missed a practice? You're never at practice. Nice try. And then Scott be like, you wouldn't be so tough, Jimmy, if you didn't have the gun in your hand. He's like, I got the berries. I got the balls. I'm always tough. So then Scott starts like hopping at him because his feet are duct tape too. And he's like, come on, man, sit down. I don't want to shoot you, man. I don't want to do this. And he actually does shoot the gun. And we hear the bullet ricocheting around the apartment. And then Scott jumps back to his seat. He's like, oh, man, what are you doing shooting the gun? You crazy or something? And then, of course, Jimmy, being the big sports fan that he is, he's got various memorial pieces all around his apartment. Various sporting events and stuff. And then Scott's like, why do you have all this stuff around? Why do you have these pictures of other people's achievements? Do you think Larry Bird has a picture of you and your achievements on his wall? What's the importance of it? It doesn't matter to you what other people achieve. So why do you make it such a priority of yours to show off other people's achievements? Scott's doing a really good job of getting in Jimmy's head. He's like, it took me 2 seconds to figure out who the real man in this situation was. And it's definitely Mike. Because Mike wouldn't even let you make the banana pancakes that you want to make. Because you're not man enough to make the banana pancakes. So then Mike comes back. He's like, hey, so I ran to Kevin outside. I was, kind of hinting around at the situation, what we got going on here. He said, it doesn't matter if we let him go now or later. We're still going to be charged in the same situation. And then Jimmy just clocks him in the face. He's like, hey, what are you doing here? Why are you punching me in the face? What's going on here? And then Jimmy starts having like a mental breakdown and like rubbing his temples and then runs off to his room. And Mike realizes what's going on now. So he's like, hey, Scott, how about you pick on somebody with the same IQ as you, all right? How about you leave him alone? And now instantly Jimmy feels so bad for what he did to Mike. He's like, I'm so sorry for punching you in the face. He just got in my head. He just got in my head. He's like, I get it. It's okay. It's fine. I accept your apology. We're in trouble though. I talked to Kevin outside. We're kind of hinting around the whole situation. We might end up going to jail. All right, just letting you know now. We might end up going to jail. And Mike gives Jimmy this big speech. He's like, we all have to work together as a team. We're all trying to help the Celtics get that championship. This is our chance to cover Lewis Scott. And if we can fully cover him, our team can actually win and get the championship. And of course, we see Coach Kimball. He's trying to figure out what's going to happen because, of course, Scott's not there at practice. So he thinks Scott's not going to show up to the game at all. And he's trying to figure out who is going to play and how they're going to play. And he's like, I hate my life. These guys can't even hit the net. And they're all right there standing beside it. It's great. And then we see the three of them just sitting down, watching some sports. They're watching like a log cutting competition. And they're like, oh, the one guy's got a rotator cuff issue. It shouldn't affect his power hit, but might affect the log roll later. And then we see how much Scott hates sports, even though he's a basketball player. And I don't know why he's a basketball player. I'm assuming he's just for the money, of course. The money side of things would probably be the main thing that he's after. And he's like, all these guys are chilling out for commercials. And Jimmy's like, no, this one guy, he won't chill out. And the next thing you know, we see him chilling out for a chainsaw commercial. He's like, I understand why he would chill out for that product. They make a really good chainsaw, so it's understandable that he'd want to do a commercial for them. And they're scrolling through the TV channels, and then they come to Oscar Mayer Wiener commercial, where it's actually Scott in the commercial, and he's like, I'll play one-on-one with this hot dog any day. And of course, then we hear some banging on the front door, and they start freaking out. Scott yells a little bit, but then Jimmy points a gun and be like, come on, we gotta go hide in the kitchen. We gotta hide in the kitchen so nobody sees us. And of course, the people at the door is actually Timmy? It's his son and his ex-wife. Of course, she's there to drop off some of his trophies that he had. I'm not sure if they're from him winning things or from someone else winning things. I don't know. But anyways, he's, I understand, Carol. I understand what you're saying. I'm pretty crazy about sports, but we can talk it out. We can go home, work everything out. Everything's gonna be fine. She's like, you're just repeating the same thing we've already done numerous times before. And of course, they hear some commotion coming from the kitchen. They had the screen pulled across because they got this weird privacy screen to hide from the kitchen in the living room. And she's like, you lying son of a bitch, you got a girl in there. And he's like, I got a girl in there? No, it's just Jimmy in there. But Jimmy doesn't want to come out, so Carol walks over to the privacy wall and opens up the wall. And that's when we then see Jimmy standing there with a gun to Scott's face. And she's like, why is this man tied up? He's like, hi, how's it going? Of course, at this point in time, Lewis has duct tape all wrapped around his face too, to cover up his mouth. And then the son's like, oh man, that's Lewis Scott. Dad, you got Lewis Scott tied up. And then Carol's like, who's Lewis Scott? And then Mike's like, see, this is the issue with our relationship. You don't even understand one of the best basketball players or one of the best rivals of my Boston Celtics. You don't really pay attention to my needs, my wants, and my desires. Do you understand this, Carol? And then Carol storms out, taking their kid away. And then we cut back to seeing Mike and Jimmy playing some pool. And Mike's like, I haven't seen her that pissed off since the playoff of '86. She was crazy then. Crazy. Straight up bit. Of course, Scott's like, hey, gym teacher, can I go to the washroom, please? He's like, no, I'm not falling for that whole trick. He's like, what do you think? I wear a pamper over here? I need to go to the washroom. So then Mike's like, all right, Jimmy, you go wash him in the washroom. He's like, I'm not doing that. There's bars on the window. He'll be fine. Of course, while Scott's using the washroom, we hear some more banging on the front door, and it's the landlord coming in. He's like, all right, Jimmy, cough it up, pay the money. You're behind on the rent. Come on, $300. Let's go. $300. Can you remember a time when rent was $300? I don't. Of course, I don't at all. That's crazy. But then Mike's like, come on, just pay him the money. Get him the hell out of here. Come on. He's like, I don't have the money. So then we see Mike just be counting out any bit of money that he has. Be like, hey, take it. Here you go. And then out of nowhere, we see Scott walking out of the washroom. Duct tape's all gone. He just walks by them. He's like, hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for letting me use the washroom. I gotta get out here and I'll see you guys later. And he just walks out of the apartment building and then starts bolting down the street. So then Mike and Jimmy have to run after him. The two of them both realize very quickly and early on that they are not physically fit to even try and keep up with Lewis as he's bolting down the sidewalk. So then Mike's like, we're never going to keep up with him at this rate. You keep up with him, Jimmy, and don't be afraid to shoot a warning shot, right? He's like, what? My horrible warning shot. I might hit him. So just do what you got to do, okay? But then Scott jumps into a taxi cab, and the taxi cab guy's like, get out of my cab. After what you did to my Celtics, I'm not giving you a ride anywhere. Get out of my cab. Then we see Mike cutting off Scott with the plumbing truck that is owned by Jimmy, and they block him off in an alleyway. And then Scott's like, what are you going to do? you gonna try to make me go into the van? You're right in front of that officer. So then he's like, hey, officer, over here, officer. And then of course it's Kevin, and of course Kevin's scoping out what's going on. But then once he sees it's Mike and Jimmy, and that the other person is Louis Scott, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go back over here and do my other work over here. You guys have fun there. And then we see Kevin driving his police car, and he's on the phone with somebody. He's like, how would you feel if I knew the Celtics were locked in for Game 7? I have some very insider information that the Utah Jazz aren't going to win the game. And for some reason, while in the plumbing van, they start talking about the girls they've been with, and of course Scott's been saying about all the Budweiser girls he's been with and all the girls in his commercials. And then Mike's like, I've been with 2 girls my whole entire life. And Scott starts laughing. He's like, yeah, well, that's still 2 more than Jimmy's ever been with. And they all start laughing. They're like, yeah, I guess that's right. Of course, they stop at this old looking gas station to get some gas. And then as Jimmy's pumping the gas, Mike goes into the store to either pay for the gas or buy some stuff. And the next thing you know, we see Scott coming out holding a toilet. I'm not sure if he's handcuffed to the toilet, but then he grabs the gas pump and he has a lighter. He's like, you're gonna let me go, or there's gonna be some issues. And then Mike comes over. He's like, I left you alone for 2 seconds. So then Scott starts pouring the gas all over Mike's crotch and holds the lighter by and be like, you better let me go, or things are gonna go up in flames. And of course, Jimmy wasn't scared about the whole situation at all, because for once he's actually getting under control, because the lighter that Scott just stole from him hasn't worked in years. So then Scott keeps trying to say, yeah, it's gonna work. And then Jimmy's just like, get in the van, just get in the van now. And then Mike's in the front seat and they're driving away, and he's stressed out, so he needs to smoke. So then Jimmy hands him a lighter, and it's the same lighter, and it actually lights, and Mike's a little bit scared now, and Jimmy's like, it does work. And there's like a little like heart-to-heart conversation happening kind of in the van where Scott's like, come on guys, just let me go, I've given up everything for the game, I've sacrificed everything, Mike, you got your wife and kid, and Jimmy, you got Mike, so how about you let me go and let me live my life, and I'll go on, play the game, and everything be fine. And that's when Mike's like, I would have sacrificed everything to be on the team. I would have sacrificed anything that needed to be sacrificed. I wouldn't be a dickhead to my teammates. And then randomly it ends with Mike and Scott having a random one-on-one basketball game in some dark alleyway at some ghetto looking basketball court. And of course Scott is winning this one-on-one game because he's the real actual basketball player, and Mike is just a basketball coach for kids, of course. I don't know why, but I feel like I had like a real Canadian accent there on coach for some fucking reason. I don't understand why. It's probably because I'm redoing this part of the podcast at like 5 o'clock in the morning, but that's fine. I digress. Anyways, as the game goes further on, Scott then takes the basketball and whips it at Mike's leg, and he goes down on the ground. So then Jimmy comes over. He's like, we need some ice. He's hurt. And then Scott whips the ball and hits Jimmy in the face and gets the keys and takes off and just leaves him at the basketball court. And now it's the next day, and we see Mike actually limping home to talk to his wife and his kid. And then they're just sitting at the breakfast table, and the kid's like, so Dad, what do you think, like, what do you think prison's gonna be like? I heard on the news there that they're probably gonna go to prison, the people that kidnapped Scott, so probably gonna go to prison, huh, Dad? Anyways, Mike's there because he's trying to bond with his wife, be like, I might end up going to jail, so I just figured I want to spend some time before in case it does happen. And then Jimmy's talking to his grandma and be like, Grandma, I did some really bad stuff. I might have to go to jail and be some really bad man's boyfriend. And Grandma's like, that's okay. Can you go get me some soda, please? And we see Jimmy and Mike showing up at the basketball game. And of course, part of the thing that they had to do was wear Utah Jazz jerseys, because that's what Scott wants them to do as he's leaving them in the basketball court. And they take off the Celtics jacket, and everyone sees that they have Utah Jazz jerseys on. And everyone's a little bit annoyed and pissed off because everyone around them is Celtic fans. So one lady just slaps him in the face, being like, how could you do it? So then Mike tries to calm down the crowd, being like, so guys, the Celtics have been losing, right? Who have we been voting for? Who have we been cheering for? We've been cheering for the Celtics. Well, we're the bad luck guys, so we're gonna start voting for the Jazz and cheering them on, and hopefully they'll lose tonight. And everyone falls for it, of course. Of course, we see Scott still not at the game, and the coach is getting all pissed off, and the guy he's using as his placement, he's just like, all right, Lurch, whatever your name is, just stay underneath the basket. You're tall. Just grab rebounds. If I see you shoot it all, I'm going to lose my shit on you. Just grab the ball. And Jimmy and Mike are sitting in the stands. And then Kevin comes over. He's like, hey, guys, how's it going? Good to see you again, huh? So you better hope that the Celtics actually win tonight, because I got a lot of money running on this one. And then Mr. MVP himself, Louis Scott, finally makes it down to the stadium. And then we see Mike and Jimmy being like, hey, Louis, look over here. We're looking pretty sharp, huh? We got our Utah Jazz jerseys on, just like you wanted us to do. Please don't put us in jail, please. And Lewis finally makes it over to the coach, and the coach is like, why you do this to me every single time, Lewis? Why are you so goddamn selfish? You don't show up practice, you don't communicate with us at all. You know what's gonna happen now, Lewis, for this game? You're gonna be benched. And he's like, you can't bench me. I'm the all-star for this team. He's like, you're benched. I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. And of course the coach is like, you know what, actually, Lewis, get in the game. Get in the game. Go play the game. Let's get a win. All right, let's just get a win. And of course the game starts, and we see Lewis is starting to miss a lot of his shots, actually. He's getting shot down. He's getting blocked. And then we cut to Jimmy. He's like, prison's going to really suck, huh? I'm going to miss Christmas. It's going to be a real bitch. Probably not any good food anyways, either. I'm not looking forward to prison. It's now like the halftime show. And apparently they pick one random seat in the stadium to do this, like, trick shot. And of course, it's Jimmy's turn to do the trick shot for once. They finally pick his seat. He's been coming to the stadium since he was 9. And now he doesn't want to do it because they're both decked out in Utah Jazz uniforms and their Celtic Pride. Then we see Jimmy getting ready to do his center court shot. It also looks like he's getting ready to do some bowling, but it's an underhand throw. And of course, the ball goes in, and then Mike starts rushing to the court to help cheer and help him hold up his giant ass like $100,000 check. And then we see them, having a drink together. They're still at the game, of course, and they're talking. And Mike's freaking out because he's like, Scott's never gonna wake up. He's never going to play good like he's supposed to be playing, and I'm a little bit freaked out now because we're going to go to jail. And then everyone else around them look at them, and they've been in the urinal the whole time, just washing as every other guy's been peeing in this long trough style urinal. So then at one point in time we see Scott missing all shots, and Mike starts yelling at him. He's like, Scott, you will not take me down with you. Everyone knows that you're going to shoot the damn ball. Show them something new. Do something different. At this point we see Scott go to chuck the ball and actually hits one of his teammates in the back of the head. One of their teammates goes over to help this Chuck guy who wears a face mask. He's like, Chuck, you okay? And he's like, I don't know what happened. He's like, I'm not really too sure either, but it looks like Lewis actually went to pass you the ball for once. And of course Scott starts passing the ball more, and they start scoring some more, and Mike's actually cheering them on. And then Jimmy's like, so are we actually cheering for Utah now? He's like, no, I just don't want to go to jail. And they have to take a timeout, the Jazz does, because the guy that Lewis originally passed the ball to is a little bit loopy now. The effects are still lurking there, and he might have a concussion because Scott literally helps him off the side. He's like, you okay? He's like, no, actually I think your pass might have screwed me up a little bit. I'm a little seeing doubles. And we see Jimmy and Mike in the stands, of course, and then Jimmy is starting to have a little bit of mental panic and breakdown. He's like, man, I can't make it in jail. I can't. I'll on the first night I'll hang myself with my shoelaces. I know I'll do it. Don't make me go to jail, please. And we see there's 7.5 seconds left. Scott just stopped the ball from going out, and he literally took out a crowd of people eating popcorn to try and get the ball back into play. And Jimmy and Scott are a little bit confused what they should do because Utah's down by 1 point. There's 7.5 seconds left, and if the Jazz win, they don't go to jail. But if the Celtics win, they assume they're going to go to jail because Scott's going to rat them out. And of course, we see Scott heads the ball. The clock is running down, and he passes it to Lurch. Lurch scores the 2, which brings the score to 103 over 102. And Jimmy and Mike are just cheering, jumping up in the stands, as all the other Celtic fans are looking around at them being like, what the hell just happened here? And then once the game's over, we watch Mike and Jimmy run to the court to cheer on Lewis Scott, and Scott doesn't do anything. He leaves Mike hanging, and then of course Kevin the officer comes over. He's like, I'm with the boss, and please, I believe these guys might have had some issues with you, some crimes. And Scott's just like, nah, these guys are my friends. They're idiots, but they're my friends. And of course Mike and Jimmy start cheering with Scott, and Jimmy's like, I'm sorry about the deduction, I've never done that to another guy. And they both just look at him and be like, huh? It's 7 months later now, and we see Mike and Jimmy sneaking through someone's home. And Mike's like, I don't want Carol to think I didn't learn my lesson. We've been doing really good. She even decided to go to a hockey game with me. He's like, it's gonna be fine. Don't worry about it, Mike. Everything's fine. And then they get into someone's bedroom, flip on the light, and of course we see Jimmy's wearing an NFL hat backwards. He's like, well, hello, good evening, Deion Sanders. And Deion's like, oh, you guys are crazy. I'm gonna call security. I'm not signing autographs at 3 a.m. And Mike's like, you're wrong there. we don't want no autographs. And Dion's like, well, what do you want then? And Mike just pulls out a big reel of duct tape, and the movie ends, and the outro credits start to roll. And that's that. And I gotta say, I enjoy this movie a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. And on the rotten scale, I'm going to give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. I just enjoy it a lot. I enjoy the cast a lot. I think the cast is a great thing. And the comedy aspect of things. It's not super, super funny at times, but I think it's still a good movie. And if you guys are sports fans, I would definitely add this to your sports watch list. I would watch it with Waterboy or Gridiron Gang. I'm like zoning out on sports movies. Mighty Ducks, that's a good one. You can add it with that as well. And what's the football one with the kids? Green something? I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. But we're at this point in time where we got to pick what we're going to be watching next week. Alright, so this is going to be another first time watch for us because that's what I like to do. This one's an action movie from 1994, but reading the description makes it sound like it's going to be a lot of fun because I like anything that has to do with the Yakuza. So, we're going to be watching Red Sun Rising. You can watch it free on Amazon Prime. So, if you guys want to watch the movie ahead of time before we discuss it next week, that's your option right there. And as always, make sure to check out the outro band, Toronto-based horror band, Blood Opera. All their links will be down below. Find them on Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube, and of course the main thing being Spotify. So definitely go give them a listen over there. Share their music, share their content. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. And as always, make sure to check out all my links down below. Follow me on all social media accounts at Typhonstein. You find us on X, we're on Threads, we're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and of course you can follow us on Twitch and YouTube where
we do live streams, YouTube being one of the main ones because we also have the weekly game videos that drop every single Wednesday, as well as various shorts and other episodes that go up as well. So until then, I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace.